Hey everyone, welcome back to the channel. This is Ninja Knight. Make sure you like, share, and subscribe. Thank you. So, Vanity Fair have an exclusive, and they're reporting that Ben Affleck will return as Batman in The Flash. His Cape Crusader will appear along with Michael Keaton's in the upcoming movie, which explores a multiverse of DC comic heroes. This is news that I wanted to hear. I wanted to hear that Ben Affleck was back as Batman. For me, he is my Batman. He is the Batman. He is the only Batman I want to see, and I am absolutely loving this news. DC fandom, if they unveil Batfleck right there and then and bring him out and have him talk, I'll be absolutely astounded. Now we're going to go into this article and talk about the article as we go along to see what sort of role Ben is going to have within this universe now that seems to be revamped at this stage. So we have Batman Forever strives for a chance to set things right. That may finally happen with Ben Affleck's version of the crime fighter. The Argo director's brooding Dark Knight is coming back for one more movie, with Affleck agreeing to return as Bruce Wayne in the upcoming big screen version of The Flash, Vanity Fair has learned. Portrayals of Batman always ignite furious debate among fans, and Affleck's selection for the part continues to provoke intense discussion, even years after he forced donned the cowl. Some love him, some disparage him, some refuse to see him in the role from the very beginning, while others consider him an underrated favourite who deserves more chances to play the role on screen. This does not disrupt the Batman starring Robert Pattinson, who remains the future of the franchise. Now, that is a disappointment statement because I have no interest in seeing Robert Pattinson's Batman whatsoever. I can understand that might have its fans out there and people that are going to support it, but not for me. Not with what Jeffrey Wright and Zoe Kravitz have said in recent times. Not for me. The Flash movie, which is planned for release in summer 2022, will feature fast-moving hyperhero Barry Allen, played by Ezra Miller. I would assume that Zack Snyder's Ezra Miller's Barry Allen is going to be like a classic Barry Allen. I do not perceive him to be the Wally West knockoff that he was in that Justice League movie, breaking the bonds of physics to crash into various parallel dimensions where he'll encounter slightly different versions of DC's classic heroes. It's an adaptation of DC's 2011 Flashpoint series of comic book crossovers, directed by Andy Muschietti, the filmmaker behind the recent adaptations of Stephen King's It and It Chapter 2. Now, as far as I know, Christina Hodson is writing the movie, which gives me some sense for worry. She was behind the Birds of Prey disaster. She was also behind the Bumblebee movie, in which she decided to self-insert a feminist agenda. So that is an individual that's 2 for 2 in terms of bad quality movies in my opinion. And there's been rumours that she wants to gender swap Reverse Flash, or certainly some of Flash's rogues gallery, to be women. So it's not something I'm going to be too keen on, I suppose. His Batman has a dichotomy that is very strong, which is his masculinity, because of the way he looks and the imposing figure that he has, and his jawline, but he's also very vulnerable, Muschietti said in an interview. He knows how to deliver from the inside out that vulnerability. He just needs a story that allows him to bring that contrast, that balance. Well, I certainly don't want to see Bruce Wayne Batman become an absolute wimp. That's not something I want to see, and I feel that might be what Muschietti is hinting at a little bit there. Sad Bruce. I don't want to see it. Maybe Michael Keaton's one, perhaps, but not Affleck's one. Affleck's one is angry. Affleck got the script at the end of last week and agreed to this week to join the project. He's a very substantial part of the emotional impact of the movie. The interaction and relationship between Barry and Affleck's Wayne will bring an emotional level that we haven't seen before, the director added. It's a Barry movie, it's a Barry story, but their characters are more related than we think. They both lost their mothers to murder, and that's one of the emotional vessels of the movie. That's where the Affleck Batman kicks in. So that's a good point, and I feel that it kind of kicks at the detractors of the Snyderverse that seem to not understand that Superman and Batman scene with Martha is Bruce's PTSD, and that's what that is. It's a phenomenal scene if you're looking at it from that point of view, and people that detract from that scene in itself don't understand what Snyder was doing. I'm glad to be collaborating with someone who has been on both sides of the camera too, Muschietti said. He understands. Affleck won't be the only Batman making a comeback. A few more of the alternate dimension heroes who turn up in the Flash movie will be figures we've seen before. Michael Keaton's Batman from the 1989 Tim Burton film is also set to appear in what Muschietti said was a substantial part. So that's a big part for Keaton and good for Keaton. Hopefully it's good stuff. There's another reason the Flash needed the character affectionately known as Batfleck. In DC's movie universe, Affleck's grey-templed Bruce Wayne is the one Ezra's Flash would consider the original Batman, the one he has already fought alongside in the previous Zack Snyder films. I really want to see Jeffrey Dean Morgan as Thomas Wayne Batman from Flashpoint. That's something I desperately want to see. I think it would be phenomenal. And it might be a secret they might keep under their hats maybe until late, or maybe they will they might unveil Jeffrey Dean Morgan as Thomas Wayne Batman within the DC fandom. Muschietti said it wouldn't work as well for him to venture into the company of other Batmen without having Affleck as the starting point. He's the baseline. He's part of that unaltered state before we jump into Barry's adventure, the director said. There's a familiarity there. DC has still other motivations for exploring the story. Batman is too valuable a character to leave fallow for long, and new actors will forever be stepping into the role. By threading the concept of a multiverse into its DC storyline, Warner Bros. Is attempting to create a way for all the competing factions of its fandom to coexist together. Unlike the Marvel Cinematic Universe or Star Wars, in which everything is designed to be part of the same canon, the multiverse approach can allow projects to vary greatly in tone or feature different actors, while still being threaded together. Keeping a broad coalition of fans from battling over what is the legitimate is one of the biggest challenges for studios managing franchises with vast appeal and decades of history. Sony's animated Into the Spider-Verse also helped popularize the alternate dimension concept, introducing the Miles Morales character to a host of differing Spider-Folk. Yeah, that was done well. I feel that maybe they might have gotten a good sense of multiverse can work if people can accept that movie and enjoy that movie. And as a big Spider-Man fan myself, I'm not the biggest fan of Miles. I'm a Peter Parker fan for life, and at that stage with Peter B. Parker and that movie being killed essentially, it's okay then that there was other Peter Parkers essentially and the other Peter Parker that was there. So yeah, that's no problem. I think the multiverse idea is a good approach to take, and it's certainly going to bring in multiple individuals. I think maybe even across the TV series potentially as well, so that every world is open and that things can be explored rather than a singular universe. I'd like Ben Affleck Batman to have a universe now to kick on into. So far, the multiverse approach has helped both DC differentiate itself and revisit same characters without being accused of rebooting or erasing recent favourites. DC TV shows such as Arrow, Batwoman, Black Lightning, awful, two trash shows there. Supergirl, third trash show, have done crossover events, and a few months ago the Crisis on Infinite Earth storyline laid the groundwork for the multiverse concept. I would say keep those CW shows as far away from this continuity as possible. Some of the fans involved in that, particularly like the Candace Patton fans, are absolutely toxic. Keep them away from this guy. Laid the groundwork for multiverse concept, with Miller's movie Flash making an appearance in that story by coming face to face with the TV Flash played by Grant Gustin. This movie is a bit of a hinge in the sense that it presents a story that employs a unified universe where all the cinematic iterations that we've seen before are valid, Muschietti said. It's inclusive in the sense that it is saying all that you've seen exists and everything that you will see exists in the same unified multiverse. So that's people that are big fans of Christian Bale's Batman. That's within a multiverse. George Clooney's Batman, I suppose, is in a multiverse somewhere, wallowing. That doesn't mean there aren't still intense disagreements in the fandom, and the return of Batfleck is sure to launch countless takes. Well, my take is that I'm absolutely delighted to see him back. I hope he gets a chance to show us his Batman movie or Batman TV series, whatever way they decide to go with it. I hope that the Flash movie isn't his last appearance. I hope that he goes on to become Batman and keep being Batman, because I absolutely love him as Batman. Affleck was cast as Batman in late August of 2013. And the debate over his presence hasn't let up even after 2 movies with Snyder: Batman v Superman, Dawn of Justice, and Justice League. Well, that wasn't Ben's Batman at all in Justice League. That was a weird depiction of the Dark Knight. And one cameo in Suicide Squad. His take will also get a new approach in the famed Snyder cut of Justice League, yeah, where he's going to be the man. He's not going to be that wimpy joke cutting Batman we seen with Joss Whedon's. It'll appear on HBO Max, and it'll restore the original director's vision before it was handed off, hacked apart, you mean, by Joss Whedon to complete a version of the film that seems to have left no one happy. No, it didn't live. I don't know anybody that was absolutely delighted with that movie. I took it at the time and said, yeah, it's not great. But the Snyder Cut is something I would love to see, and here we are now. We're getting the Snyder Cut. I love it. Affleck had previously signed to direct and star in a standalone film called The Batman, but ultimately left the project after saying that his demands were taking too much of a personal toll. I'd say it was the messing about that was going on at Warner Brothers. Definitely led to that, and the input of Matt Reeves. And Matt Reeves seems to be a friend of Jar Jar Abrams and Bad Robot, who are seemingly coming to the DC universe, which is going to cause absolute chaos, in my opinion. At the time he parted ways with the film, he was also dealing with the end of his marriage to Jennifer Garner and struggling with alcoholism. I showed somebody the Batman script, Affleck told the New York Times. They said, I think the script is good. I also think you'll drink yourself to death if you go through what you just went through again. Allegedly, that was Jeff Johns. And Jeff Johns has been pointed the finger at for being one of the individuals that brought Joss Whedon in to hack apart what Snyder had done. So, big question marks surrounding that type of comment that seemed to have tried to put Ben Affleck out to pasture and bring in this new soy version of Batman. Robert Pattinson. Barbara Muschietti, the producer of The Flash and sister and longtime collaborator of the director, told Vanity Fair she had worried this might make him reluctant to return at all. There have been all sorts of stories and things he said himself about having a very hard time playing Batman, and it had been difficult for him, she said. Well, I think with the support for the Snyder Cut, and then support for Ben himself, I think he's probably realised that the demand and the fans are really there behind this. This is a project that hasn't gone away for a number of years. This is clearly loved. I think it was more about a difficult time in his life. When we approached him, he's now in a very different time in his life. He was very open to it, which was a bit of a surprise to us. It was a question mark. Wow. I mean, that's a massive statement. He was very open to it. That suggests to me that he could kick on and he could stay as Batman, whatever way he decides to do it, whether he decides to do a movie or whether he decides to do a TV series, which I think might be a good idea. Hour-long episodes of Ben Affleck as Batman would be outstanding. Jeremy Irons as Alfred in that hour-long episode, Joe Manganiello as Deathstroke in an hour-long episode, the host of Batman's Rogue Galleries in that episode, or throughout the season. I mean, imagine James Spader as Mr. Freeze. That would be a casting decision, in my opinion. We're all human and go through great times in our lives and terrible times in our lives, she added. Right now he's in a place where he can actually enjoy being Batman. Plus he doesn't have to carry the entire movie. It's a pivotal role, but at the same time it's a fun part, she said. And that's interesting, so Michael Keaton's going to have a significant part and Ben Affleck is going to be a little bit more, it seems like a jumping off point, so maybe at the start of the movie and then jump forward. Filmmaker Matt Reeves, the Planet of the Apes movies, is now making The Batman with Pattinson as the lead. The film was in the midst of shooting when the beer bug lockdown hit, and production is set to resume in the fall. Oh, I mean, they really could have called it a day on that one and just said, look lads, we're going to move the funds on to something else rather than this. I don't know anybody. There's a couple of individuals on Twitter that are looking forward to this, but I don't know anybody that's looking forward to that version of Batman whatsoever. If it was me, I'd just tell everyone that's involved, thanks for your work. We're moving in a different direction now, and we're going to look at keeping going with the Snyderverse and maybe some of the other things that we're doing. I want to see a Green Lantern series that's done correctly as well too, or maybe even a Green Lantern movie that's done correctly. Although a standalone film for Batfleck didn't happen, his admirers continue to champion Affleck's take on the character. With The Flash, they get to see him answer the bat signal at least once more. I hope it's not the last time. I hope it's plenty more times after that. He is my Batman, and I want to see him crack on as Batman. I want to see many more movies with him, hopefully. TV series with him, hopefully. Whatever he decides to do, I just hope it's more Batman. I hope it's more for Ben Affleck, because I do believe that he is the best representation, the best version of Batman that we've ever gotten. he just exemplifies everything. He gets the role, he understands the role, he understands Bruce Wayne, he understands that mental struggle that Bruce Wayne has, and the fact that Batman is essentially who he is, and that Bruce Wayne is the mask, which we've seen very well put together in Batman versus Superman, in my opinion, when he told Mercy Graves she had nice shoes. It was very cool. So I'm curious to see what people think about this one. Leave a thought in the comments what you think about this. This is a big statement, and the fact that Ben is 100% back as Batman, it certainly must be very difficult for some of the news outlets, well, in quotes, news outlets and media, that have absolutely vilified Snyder's movies, Ben Affleck as Batman. It must be a very tough pill for them to swallow now to see that Ben is officially back. And I hope he's coming back in a bigger capacity. I hope that this Flashpoint movie, they said it's not going to be what we know, but I hope that the ripple effect of it is seen large and wide throughout the universe, in that we will see other versions of characters creep over. Like I said earlier on, Thomas Wayne's Batman, Jeffrey Dean Morgan is perfect to play it. I hope we're going to see plenty more of Ben Affleck as Batman. He is the man for me, and I'm looking forward to seeing what they do with this movie. It's certainly throwing up a lot of questions that of what they're going to do with it. Like I said earlier on, Christina Hodson I think is a bit of a problem, but I think if Andy Muschietti and Barbara Muschietti keep her under a watchful eye, that this could be quite good. She wouldn't be the writer I would choose for this project whatsoever. I would get someone with a good pedigree, good experience, and maybe someone in the comic book industry that might know how to write these things. I certainly wouldn't be handing this over to Christina Hodson and asking her what to do, what she thinks. I think that is a bad idea, and I think that might serve to annoy fans. I personally hope that Andy Muschietti is going to draft Snyder in and have Snyder as a kind of creative force, and that he's going to say this is what would happen in my universe. I hope that Snyder is going to be that person going forward. I think that that's what should be happening, which is he's overseeing this universe and having his thoughts and opinions in it. And then again, like that, you can have other individuals like James Wan, who went and did his Aquaman. He had his own take on it, but was still very respectful of Snyder and Snyder's world. That would be something I would like to see, and it was still in character for that character. I'm gonna leave it there. Make sure you like, share, and subscribe. Make sure you hit that notification bell so that you get notified for whenever I put a video up. Ben Affleck is back, and I have to say I'm absolutely delighted. This has been a massive piece of news that I've wanted to hear for a very long time, and the fact that he is back is just, it's an incredible achievement for Snyder. It's an incredible achievement for Ben Affleck himself, and it's an incredible achievement as well too for the fans. So this is a very big announcement in my opinion. Gonna leave it there. Good luck.